Commodities continue to be the main focus for investors as crude oil once again gave a wild show today. Let's bring in Scott Bauer, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Scott, okay, WTI with the first sign of maybe some sell the news when the president announced that ban, but it didn't get far and was quickly caught at $124. So what do you think of the action today?
I mean, very wild. And you know me, full disclosure here, I have been selling every rip higher. Definitely have gotten stopped out a couple times. I will continue to do that, though, because I still think that this is so overpriced. And I know that everybody, you talk to so many people in the marketplace, so many analysts say, 150's coming, 200's coming. But, all it takes, and let's hope, and I don't want to, I don't ever trade on hope, but all it's going to take is some positive news out of what's going on in, between Ukraine and Russia. And we could see at least 10 to 15% out of the price of oil here. So I use my stops and I continue to sell every rip higher.
That's the fun hypothetical right now. The hopeful.
That's the hypothetical.
Yeah, right. Which is, where do you want to be if there's some shock good news in Ukraine? What do you think? Is it the fade crude? It seems like you think the fading crude might be the good way to do it. Long stocks, I guess, too, or short bonds?
Maybe all of the above.
Buy Bitcoin?
Right. Well, I don't know about that one. Let's go 3 out of 4.
Okay.
Let's remove the geopolitical tensions out of it for a moment. And obviously that's front and center, but let's remove that. You still have inflation. You still have the Fed. You have Powell next week. So you've got those other underlying factors which have been weighing heavily on the marketplace. Now, I will tell you personally, after Powell came out, whatever it was, a week ago or so, and said, you know what, it's going to be a quarter point, which kind of is what we're all accepting of right now. If it weren't, in my opinion, for what's going on overseas, the market would have rallied, would have screamed higher since then. Mm-hmm. But again, the hypothesis of, well, we don't know when this is going to end. Yeah. So we don't. And that's why, as a trader, not an investor, different mindset, as a trader, you've got to use really, really important stops to help you out here. And that's what I'm doing.
So for crude oil, the options approach that you're using, Scott, walk me through it. I mean, is it just buying puts on the rallies or using this vol to try and give yourself a wider berth? What type of trades make sense in a chart that's been going exponential?
It's mostly been selling call spreads, to be quite honest.
Okay.
Because the vol is so high, because there's so much premium.
Makes sense.
In the options here. So, you could buy puts and get a nice move to the downside. But if volatility collapses, just like trading in any sort of equity option and any stock option, that could actually go against you, so that the direction that you may win on, right, the bias in this case to the downside, may get eclipsed by the crash or the crush in volatility. So I have been selling call spreads against spreads. Nothing, definitely not anything open-ended here. You get stopped out, you get stopped out. But it's been working well. It had been working a lot better until about 3 days ago.
It's a tough market right now when we're getting these types of sharp moves. But it sounds like, Scott, that you, in the scenario of this positive Ukraine kind of hypothesis here, if something happens, you like the crude fade. I think really important your point about not getting too carried away in bounce back trades that might run into the problems they had already been dealing with before any of this happened. And that brings us back to kind of the high risk Bitcoin growthy stock stuff.
No doubt about it. And this is certainly not an environment. I mean, it never is, and I never trade this way. But this is certainly not an environment to pound the table and go out there and say, I'm going to hit a home run. I'm going to hit a grand slam on this trade. Yeah. There's just, that's a recipe for disaster. So, you have to look at every scenario a little differently, and the mindset can change overnight, right? I mean, just because I have this opinion right now doesn't mean that can't change tomorrow. That's the beauty of being a weatherman, so they say. But that's the difference between trading and investing.
Hey, Scott, gold up 3%, getting near the highs. This one's been pretty surprising, at least to me, even after having seen some of these bullish developments in gold. I mean, that it's the best performer. Even when crude fades today, gold comes right back. Do you think we're getting ready for new highs?
So there's a lot of catch up there, Oliver. You and I have had this conversation probably over the last month or so.
Yeah.
why hasn't gold rallied? It has set up for every possibility that it should rally as a risk-off asset, geopolitical tensions, and it just wasn't. And now it has finally, I'm not even going to call it a breakout yet, but now it has surged. And I think a lot of that is catch up to what maybe it should have done over the last 6 months or so, quite frankly.
I like that point. Okay. Hey, the coiners will certainly get on board with you there, Scott. They'll say, hey, look at the long term here. Who's winning out in the competition? All right, Mr. Bauer, good stuff. Thanks as always. Appreciate the thoughts on the trading here, selling the call spreads in WTI and using spreads against them if it starts to get rocky in the waters. So thanks, Scott, CEO at Prosper Trading Academy.